My wife cheated with my best friend, then secretly forged my signature and stole $200, $0 from our joint account to fund her new life with him. Now she's claiming I'm the thief in our bitter divorce battle over the house and won $5 million estate. Hello everyone. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Now, let's begin the video. Using a throwaway for obvious reasons, with certain specifics modified to preserve anonymity. I never thought I'd be the guy sitting here telling a story like this, but here we are. It all started with what seemed like a normal day, but then I found out my wife, Lisa, was cheating on me with my best friend, Mark. And to make things even crazier, she'd forged my signature and stolen $200, $0 from our joint account to run off with him. Yeah, I know it sounds like a bad soap opera, but it's real life. The betrayal hit me like a freight train, and I'm still trying to process how everything unraveled so fast. Lisa and I had been married for about 8 years. We had our ups and downs like any couple, but I genuinely thought we were solid. She was always a little bitchy, quick to dismiss my concerns, and always had some excuse for her bad behavior, say she was stressed or that I was overreacting. Still, I never imagined she'd cheat on me, let alone with Mark, my best friend since college. That was a betrayal I couldn't wrap my head around. It all started about 2 months ago. I noticed little things, her phone ringing at odd hours, her being more secretive about her texts, changing her phone password. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the gut feeling gnawed at me. Then one night I came home early from work because I wasn't feeling well. I walked into the house and heard noises from the bedroom. It was late, and I figured she was asleep, but when I peeked in, I saw her in bed with her phone in her hand, giggling and whispering. My stomach clenched. I quietly backed out and decided to check her phone later. I felt sick just thinking about what I might find. Sure enough, a few days later, I snuck her phone when she was out shopping. I went through her messages, and there it was, texts between her and Mark talking about meeting up, getting away from everything, and even explicit talk about sex. The worst part, they'd been seeing each other for months, probably even longer, and I had no idea. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. But that wasn't all. I started noticing other things, her secretive behavior, her disappearing acts, and the way she'd dodge my questions. Then I remembered I'd seen some papers tucked away in her purse, receipts for hotel stays and cash withdrawals I didn't recognize. I started piecing things together, and I couldn't ignore the signs anymore. She was lying to me, hiding something big. One night I decided I'd had enough. I confronted her. I told her I knew about the affair, about the money, everything. She looked at me with that fake innocence, that, "What are you talking about?" look. She claimed she didn't know what I was talking about, that I was paranoid, that I was imagining things. But I had proof, screenshots of their texts, bank statements, receipts. I laid it all out, and her face turned red with anger. She yelled at me, called me crazy, said I was stalking her, and accused me of being insecure. That moment was a turning point. I felt a mixture of rage, heartbreak, and confusion. How could she do this? How could she betray me like that, with my best friend no less? I'd trusted her, loved her, built a life with her, and she'd thrown it all away for some sex and a quick escape. It was devastating. I wanted to break down, to scream, to do something terrible, but I held it together. I told her she needed to leave, and she did, but not before throwing one last shot, saying I was the real thief, that I'd stolen her happiness, and that I was the one who'd ruined everything. That's when I realized this wasn't just about the affair or the money. It was about trust, something she had completely destroyed. I felt numb, betrayed, and furious. I started digging into our finances, trying to find out where the money went. That's when I discovered she'd forged my signature on a bunch of documents, transferring over $200, $0 to accounts I didn't even know existed. She'd been planning this for a while. I think she wanted out, and she was willing to lie, cheat, and steal to do it. Since then, my life has been a whirlwind. I've hired a lawyer, started the divorce process, and am trying to piece my life back together. But the hardest part is dealing with the aftermath, knowing she lied to me every day, knowing she stole from us, and knowing she's claiming I'm the thief in all this mess. Every time I think about it, I get angry all over again. How could she do this? How could she pretend to be the loving wife while secretly planning her escape? It's a nightmare I wake up from every day, and I don't see how I'll ever fully recover from this betrayal. After the initial shock wore off, I started to realize just how deep she'd gone. The more I dug into the bank statements, the clearer it became that Lisa had been planning this for months. She'd created fake signatures on documents, transferred hundreds of thousands of dollars to accounts I didn't even know existed, and systematically wiped out our savings. I found emails where she talked about starting fresh with Mark, about leaving the shitty life behind and how she'd finally be free of me. It was like I was reading the script of a betrayal movie I never auditioned for. The worst part, she kept lying to my face even after I confronted her. She insisted she was innocent, that I was imagining things, that she'd never cheat or steal from us. She told me I was paranoid, that I was projecting my insecurities. That was the moment I realized she was a master manipulator. She's good at lying, and she knew exactly how to spin her stories. The more she denied everything, the more I saw through her facade. It became clear she was trying to gaslight me, to make me doubt my own senses. I remember the night I found out she'd forged my signature. I was going through our financial records, trying to understand how she'd drained our account, when I noticed discrepancies. The signatures on some bank documents didn't match mine, and there were transfers I didn't authorize. I called the bank immediately. They confirmed that someone had forged my signature on multiple documents. That was the moment I knew she'd been lying to my face all along. She'd stolen a huge chunk of our wealth, and I had no idea. I felt sick. Betrayal doesn't even begin to cover what I was feeling. I trusted her with everything, my life, my money, my future, and she'd thrown it all away for what? A quick fling. A new life with Mark. It was like my entire world was collapsing. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I kept replaying every moment in my head, trying to find where I went wrong, trying to understand how someone I loved could do this to me. And then came the confrontation. I told her I knew everything. I showed her the evidence, the bank statements, the forged signatures, the texts, the receipts. She looked at me, eyes cold, and started spinning her lies. She told me she was doing it for us, that she wanted a better life, that I was holding her back. She said she was tired of the boring marriage and wanted to live a little. She claimed Mark was just a friend, that I was overreacting, that I was jealous and insecure. But I knew better. I knew she was lying, just like she always did. Her reaction was infuriating. She started crying, but it wasn't because she was sorry. It was manipulation, playing the victim, trying to make me feel guilty. She told me I was a terrible husband, that I'd never appreciated her, that I'd always been too controlling. She claimed I'd driven her to this point, that she had no choice but to run away. But I saw through her tears. I saw her real face, the bitchy, selfish woman who'd been cheating and stealing behind my back. That night I felt something else, an overwhelming sense of loss. I realized I'd lost not just money, but the person I thought I knew. I'd trusted her, loved her, and she'd used me as a fool. I kept asking myself, how could she be so callous? How could she betray me so completely and then lie about it? It hurt more than I could describe. I'd never felt so betrayed, so humiliated. I was furious, yes, but underneath it all there was this deep sadness. The woman I married was gone, replaced by someone who'd do anything for a quick escape. The next few days were chaos. I contacted my lawyer, started gathering evidence for the divorce, and tried to figure out how to recover the stolen money. The bank told me they were investigating the forged signatures, but it would take time. Meanwhile, Lisa refused to admit anything, kept spinning her stories, and insisted she was the victim. She called me crazy, accused me of being paranoid, and said I was just jealous of her happiness with Mark. That was the moment I knew I had to fight back, not just for the money, but for my dignity. I also learned that she'd been secretly planning her departure for months. She'd been saving up, hiding cash, and even bought a new condo in another city. She'd been setting everything up behind my back, convinced she could get away with it. It was like a slap in the face every time I found out new details. How could she be so calculating, so cold? I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind to her true nature all along. But the truth is, she was good at hiding what she really was, until it all came crashing down. Now I'm left here, feeling like I've been hit by a freight train. I'm angry, hurt, and utterly betrayed. But I also know I have to move forward. The legal battle's just beginning, and I'm determined to get back what's mine, both the money she stole and the trust she shattered. I've learned a lot about people and myself through this nightmare. Trust is fragile, and some people will do anything to escape their problems, even if it means destroying others in the process. I just wish I'd seen the signs sooner. The thing about betrayal is that it doesn't just hurt in the moment, it lingers. Every day since I found out the truth, I've been replaying everything, trying to make sense of how Lisa managed to pull this off without me noticing. I mean, I'm supposed to be a smart guy, but she was so good at hiding her tracks. She was manipulative and I was blind to it. That realization hits hard. Trust was a fragile thing, and she shattered it with ease. I started noticing small things that I'd overlooked before. For instance, her phone always being close, even when she claimed she was just checking messages. She'd get defensive if I asked who she was texting, and then suddenly her phone was password protected. She'd delete messages, clear her call logs, and always make sure she was in control of her digital footprint. I thought she was just being secretive, but now I see it was part of a bigger plan. She knew exactly how to hide her tracks, how to make me doubt myself. The day I really lost it was when I found a folder on her laptop. It was hidden deep in the files, password protected, of course. I didn't have the password, but I was desperate. I managed to crack it, and what I saw made my blood run cold. There were bank statements, signed documents, and emails from her lawyer, proof that she'd been planning her escape for months. She had forged my signature on legal documents, transferred money to accounts I'd never heard of, and even set up a new identity, new job, new address, everything ready to go. I felt like I'd been punched again. How could she do this? How could she plan her escape so meticulously while pretending to be the perfect wife? I couldn't believe I'd been so blind. I'd trusted her with everything, my money, my feelings, my life, and she'd been secretly plotting her departure while I was working late trying to be a good husband. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever feel normal again. The next step was confronting her again, but this time with concrete proof. I called her while she was out shopping. I told her I knew everything, the forged signatures, the stolen money, the entire scheme. Her reaction was instant. She started screaming at me, calling me paranoid, accusing me of trying to control her, of being jealous of her new life with Mark. She claimed I was making everything up, that I was just bitter because I'd lost her, but I had the evidence. I read her the bank statements, the emails, the legal documents. She looked panicked for a second, then shifted into her usual manipulative mode. She told me I was overreacting, that I was paranoid and insecure. She said she'd never do something so desperate, and that I was just trying to ruin her happiness. That's when I saw her true colors. She was a liar, a thief, and a master manipulator. She was trying to turn the tables on me, make me look like the villain. She claimed she was just trying to start over, that I'd driven her to this point by being too controlling and possessive. But I knew better. I knew she'd been planning this all along, and I felt sick thinking about how much she'd lied to me. The worst part was how she spun her stories. She cried, she begged, she called herself the victim, saying she'd been pushed into a corner and had no choice but to run away. She said she loved me but needed freedom, that she'd never cheat or steal if I'd just trust her. That was her game, playing the victim, making me doubt myself, trying to get me to forgive her. But I wasn't falling for it. I knew her too well now. She lied about everything, and I had the evidence to prove it. In the days that followed, I started to realize just how much damage she'd done. The money was gone, stolen, really. She used it to fund her new life, buy a condo, and set herself up in a city hundreds of miles away. I found out she'd even opened a fake bank account under a different name, hiding the cash she'd stolen. She planned her escape well in advance, and I was just a pawn in her game. The realization made me furious, but at the same time I felt exhausted. How could someone I loved turn into such a liar and thief? I also learned that she'd been secretly talking to Mark for months, planning everything together. She told him she'd leave me, that she'd finally be free to be with him without all the baggage. And Mark, my so-called best friend, had been in on it all, encouraging her, helping her hide the money, and even giving her tips on how to cover her tracks. That betrayal was the worst of all. I had trusted him like a brother. We shared everything, our secrets, our dreams, and he'd betrayed me for her. It was like a punch to the gut every time I thought about it. Now I'm caught in this legal mess. My lawyer says I have a good case, especially with the forged documents and the evidence of theft. But it's not just about the money anymore. It's about reclaiming my life, my dignity. I never thought I'd be fighting my wife and my best friend in court, but here I am. All I want is to get through this, to move on and rebuild. But I know I'll carry the scars of this betrayal for a long time. Trust has become a fragile thing, and I wonder if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again after this. Every day since I uncovered everything has been a roller coaster of emotions: anger, disbelief, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal that's hard to put into words. It's like I've been living someone else's nightmare, and I can't wake up from it. The more I dig into her lies, the more I realize how carefully she planned her escape. She wasn't just cheating and stealing. She was orchestrating her entire new life behind my back, using my money, my trust, and my good name as if they were nothing. One of the most shocking things I found was a series of encrypted emails between her and Mark. They'd been discussing how to cover her tracks, how to hide the money, and even how to break the news to me without raising suspicion. I never imagined my best friend would be part of something this sinister. They'd been talking about getting away from the old life and starting fresh somewhere new. With her taking the bulk of the stolen cash, it's sickening to think I was so blind. The day I found out about the fake bank accounts was the day I truly lost my footing. She had set up a new account under a different name, with a hefty deposit already in place. The money was gone, moved, stolen, and hidden away. She used forged documents to transfer it out of our joint account, and I had the proof now. The bank confirmed the signatures on those documents didn't match mine. I felt betrayed all over again. How could she do this, not just to me, but to everything we'd built? Our home, our life savings, our future, all gone because she decided she wanted a new life with Mark. I remember sitting in my living room, looking at the evidence spread out on my laptop, feeling numb. I'd trusted her with my life, my heart, my money, and she'd used that trust against me. The anger was overwhelming. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but I knew that wouldn't help. Instead, I started making plans. I hired a lawyer, gathered all the evidence I could find, and prepared for what I knew would be a brutal fight in court. I was determined to get justice, not just for the stolen money, but for the betrayal of everything I believed in. Her reaction to my discovery was predictable. When I confronted her with everything, she played the victim card again. She claimed I was controlling, jealous, and paranoid. She said she was forced to do what she did because I'd been so possessive. She insisted she loved me but needed to find herself, and that Mark was just a distraction, a mistake, she claimed. But I saw through her lies. I knew Mark was more than just a distraction. They'd been planning this for months. She'd been sneaking around, lying, forging my signature, everything to get away. What really hurt was how she dismissed my feelings. She told me I was overreacting, that I was making a big deal out of nothing. She said I was just jealous because she found someone better, someone who could give her what I couldn't. That was when I realized how much she'd been manipulating me, how she'd convinced herself that she was the victim. But the truth was, she was the villain. She'd betrayed her vows, her marriage, her friendship, and all of it for a quick escape and a new life with Mark. As I sit here now, reflecting on everything, I can't help but feel a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. Relief that I finally uncovered her lies and theft, and emptiness because I lost someone I loved and trusted. I keep asking myself how I didn't see it coming. How did she manage to hide all this from me for so long? The answer is simple: she's good at lying. She's manipulative and ruthless, and she knew exactly how to keep me in the dark while she was planning her getaway. The financial mess she left behind is staggering. I found out that she'd been siphoning money for months, using forged signatures, fake accounts, and secret transfers. The $200, $0 she stole is just the tip of the iceberg. She'd been draining our savings, planning her departure meticulously, without me noticing. It's like I was living with a stranger all along. Someone capable of such deception is terrifying, and it's made me question everything about the trust I once had in people. Now, I'm in the middle of a legal battle. My lawyer tells me I have a solid case because of the forged documents and the evidence of theft. But even with that, I know it's going to be a long, draining process. I'm fighting to recover the money and to hold her accountable. But honestly, I just want this nightmare to end. I want to get my life back, to rebuild from the ashes of betrayal. The hardest part is knowing that someone I loved, someone I thought was my soulmate, could turn into such a liar and thief. It's a lesson I won't forget. Trust is fragile, and some people will do anything to escape their problems, even if it costs others everything. The more I think about everything she did, the angrier I get. It's not just the money or the affair, it's the lies, the manipulation, the complete betrayal of what we had. I start to wonder if I ever really knew her at all. Was she ever honest with me? Did she love me, or was I just a pawn in her game the entire time? These questions have haunted me every day since I uncovered her secrets. I feel like I've been living in a nightmare I can't wake up from. One thing that keeps replaying in my mind is how she convinced herself she was justified, that she was stressed, trapped, or just not happy. But all I see now is a selfish, calculating woman who was willing to destroy everything we built for a chance at a new life with Mark. She used my love, my trust, and my money as tools for her escape. She forged my signature on legal documents, transferred hundreds of thousands of dollars, and even bought herself a new life in a city she'd never even mentioned to me. I discovered she'd been secretly talking to Mark for months, planning, scheming, coordinating everything. They'd been exchanging emails, texts, and even video chats when I wasn't around. She told him she was done with me, that she wanted out, that she couldn't stand the boring marriage anymore. And Mark, my so-called best friend, was right there with her, egging her on and helping her cover her tracks. It's like a betrayal of epic proportions, one that's hard to even grasp. How could someone I trusted so deeply turn into this kind of liar? The day I found the evidence of her secret life was a turning point. I uncovered emails where she talked about starting fresh, about how she'd finally be free of her boring marriage and bad choices. She'd been planning her escape for months, saving money, forging signatures, and even buying her new condo under a different name. It's all right there in black and white, proof that she'd been lying to me for a long time. The shock of that realization was almost worse than the betrayal itself. I remember sitting alone in my living room, staring at the screen, feeling numb. My mind kept racing. How could she do this? How could she plan her departure so carefully while pretending to be the loving wife I'd known? I was furious but also heartbroken. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut, and all I could do was sit there, overwhelmed by a tidal wave of emotions. The trust I'd had in her was gone, shattered into pieces I didn't think I could ever put back together. The legal process has begun. I've hired a lawyer, started the divorce proceedings, and am fighting to get back what's mine. But even with the evidence, I know it's going to be a long, draining fight. I keep thinking about the money she stole, $200, gone without a trace. She'd been hiding it in secret accounts, forging my signature and moving it out of our joint account. I can't believe I was so blind. How did I not see the signs? How did I miss the clues? The truth is, she's a master at deception, and I was just another pawn in her game. What's hardest to accept is that she's now claiming I'm the thief. That I stole from her, that I was the one secretly draining our savings and forging documents. It's a sick joke, but that's what she's trying to spin now. She's playing the victim, trying to turn everything around on me. It's classic her, lying, manipulating, twisting facts until they serve her narrative. I know I have the evidence to prove otherwise, but it's exhausting fighting her lies while she continues to deny everything. The emotional toll has been immense. Every time I think I've processed something, another piece of her deception surfaces. The lies about her affair, the forged signatures, the stolen money, all of it chips away at my sense of stability. I find myself questioning everything I believed about her, about us. Was our entire marriage just a lie? Did I ever really know her? These questions haunt me, and I'm left wondering if I'll ever fully recover from the betrayal. But I also realize I can't let her win. I won't let her manipulate me into feeling guilty or ashamed. I have to stand strong, fight for what's right, and move forward. The truth is on my side, and I will do everything I can to see justice done. No matter how painful it is, I know I need to take control of my life again. I've learned that trust is fragile, and some people will do anything to escape their problems, even if it means destroying others in the process. I just hope someday I can rebuild what's broken and find peace again. Now, after everything, I've come to a point where I realize the depth of the betrayal has changed me forever. The trust I once had in people, especially in someone I loved, is shattered. I see now how easily someone can hide their true nature behind a smile, behind lies, behind a carefully crafted facade. Lisa was good at pretending to be the loving wife, the caring partner, but underneath it all was someone willing to lie, cheat, forge, and steal her way out of a life she no longer wanted. It's a harsh lesson, but one I had to learn the hard way. In the end, what hurts most is knowing I was blindsided. I thought I was building a future with her, that we were in this together. Instead, she was planning her escape, using me as a pawn, and destroying everything we had for her own selfish reasons. The money she stole, $200, was more than just a sum. It was a symbol of her complete disregard for me and everything we shared. She took that money to fund her new life, leaving me to pick up the pieces of a marriage that was never what I thought it was. The legal battles are ongoing, and I know I have a long road ahead. Recovering the stolen money, fighting her false accusations, and trying to prove her guilt has been exhausting, but I refuse to let her manipulate me anymore. I've learned that sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on and reclaiming your life. I've also realized that I need to focus on myself, on healing and rebuilding my sense of trust in the world. Because if I don't, her betrayal will continue to control my life long after the court case ends. Looking back, I wish I had seen the signs sooner. I wish I hadn't been so trusting, so naive. But I also understand that some people are just good at hiding their true selves. The lesson here is to never ignore your gut feelings, no matter how small they seem. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to fix. I hope anyone reading this takes away the importance of being vigilant, of paying attention to the little things, and of never letting your guard down completely. As I close this chapter, I want to say that I'm slowly learning to forgive myself for not seeing it coming. I'm trying to forgive her too, though that's the hardest part. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing her actions. It's about releasing the anger and pain so I can move forward. I know I'll carry the scars of this betrayal for a long time, but I also believe I can rebuild my life stronger and wiser. My advice to anyone going through something similar: trust your instincts, watch for red flags, don't be afraid to ask questions or dig deeper, and most importantly, don't let anyone take away your happiness or your peace of mind. Sometimes the biggest lesson is that you have to let go of those who hurt you, no matter how much you loved them. Because in the end, your own well-being has to come first. And if someone is willing to betray you so completely, they don't deserve a place in your future.